No. We are ready. We're good.
Okay. Good evening. Today is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. We are on the Brecksville-Broadview Heights Education Center, 6638 Mill Road, Brecksville, Ohio. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. Public participation is governed by Board Bylaw 0169.1, public participation at board meetings. This meeting will be live streamed via YouTube and will also be recorded for later viewing. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel where all recordings are posted. Item 1B, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1C, roll call.
Mrs. Gaelick,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Spikowski,
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes. Moving on to item 2, President's announcements. Item A, announcements. Just a reminder for everyone that we do have an election coming up this November. There are 2 board seats that will be on the ballot. For those who, just as a reminder, we have 5 board seats, 5 board members, and board members serve 4-year terms, and then they're staggered every 2 years, 3 seats, and then 2 seats come up. So this November, there'll be 2 seats up. Ellen and Tish's seat will be coming up. Tish is rerunning, Ellen is not. And then there are 3 other candidates who will be running. So everyone just kind of plug in and evaluate the candidates, and please join in our democracy and vote in November. Moving on to item 2B, notice of consent agenda. Do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? No? Okay. Moving on then to item 3A, board areas of responsibility, legislative liaison, legislative OSBA liaison, Ellen.
I don't really have an update, but there is going to be something when Craig talks about some issues related to property taxes and potential changes down the road. So, but I'll let Craig address that when he does his presentation.
Okay. Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, Ava.
As you can imagine, they were very busy with the beginning of another school year. Mr. Mangus had met with the Deputy Director of the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, Jeremy Varner. The topic was increasing the number of Ohio students participating in career tech ed, which seemed to be a common thread in a number of their other activities. I know there was a grant application for the State Pathway Support Network to improve middle grades career courses and career planning. In addition to that, in the lower grades, the Career Week is going to be held at North Royalton Elementary. The Tooth Fairy Messenger will be in conjunction with the dental health programming and will be at Twinsburg Elementary. And 4th graders and independents will be spending time in the construction trades, building birdhouses. And their school report card was wonderful as well for the years 24-25. The CVCC remains a 5-star district, and everyone is very proud of that. In terms of enrollment, the adult monthly enrollment is 380 pupils in all of the areas, but over 70 were enrolled in the adult practical nursing program, which is a new program that they built. So they're very happy with that. And I think those are very robust numbers. In terms of the school age kids, there's 928, and they're just toying with reaching that 1,000 goal that they've been really working towards. And that's it. Thank you.
Just for information purposes, Randy Borosh attended that same professional development with Jeremy Varner from DWE, representing Brecksville-Broadview Heights.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to curriculum, Tish.
So our report card was released on Monday. If you've been following anything in the news, you'll see that all the schools were, again, given their star rating. There's more to come. I don't have much to share because Dr. Martin will be giving a whole presentation on that here in a few minutes.
Very good. Moving on to finance, Tish and myself, nothing to report on. We'll move on to transportation, myself, nothing to report on so far. That's good news. Board policy, Lisa and Ellen.
It's just the policies on the agenda for a second or final reading tonight that we looked at last time.
I know we've all been waiting, but the Neola packet is in. So Sherry is preparing the packets for the, we'll call it the fall update. So both Lisa and Ellen, you'll be getting some information on that here shortly.
Very good. Moving on to BBH Schools Foundation, Tish.
So exciting news for the school's foundation. They just elected they just chose a new trustee last night. Vanessa Caslow is joining as a trustee for their social media chair. So congratulations to Vanessa. They had Anthony Anderson from Raymond James come and provide them a financial investment update last night, just checking in regarding kind of giving, because there's new members to the group, giving the history of their investments, the logistics and mechanics of how Raymond James functions for them as far as managing their money. And then, just they are discussing future management. They're trying to maintain their health so that they continue to provide grants to our students for years and years and years to come.
Very good. Moving on to safety, Ava and Lisa.
Oh, okay. So we had our safety meeting, sorry, it was in September. I can't remember what day, but it was at 7:30 in the morning. One day at 7:30 in the morning. We were all there. So kind of the two biggest topics that we discussed was just the driveway onto the Hilton campus that, that's still in development. We're still working with that. And then Mr. Cost talked about and correct me if I'm getting this wrong, every few years we're required to do a large scale safety test. Last time the test we did was the reunification drill. So now they're working on something different, not a reunification drill, but something else that would be a large scale test across buildings.
Okay, very good. Moving on to sustainability, Ava and Ellen.
We received an email with a PSO mom from the elementary school that was on sustainability last year, apparently, she's offering her volunteerism to help us to continue to create a robust program. And I think that that might be good. And she might be able to infuse some things from the aspect of getting the cafeterias in the elementary school involved. That's all I know about that, though.
Okay, moving on to PSO, Lisa.
All three PSO units in council had their first meetings of the year, and kind of the first meeting, it's usually pretty well attended because parents are really interested in what's going on at the beginning of the year, and then everybody gets bogged down later. But so they approved their budgets and their financial audits of last year's books, and then just had kind of updates on what's been going on. Like Mark mentioned, an election is coming up, and every 2 years when we have a school board election, our PSO organizes and meet the candidates for Brexville Broadview Heights School Board event. That event is going to be on Wednesday, October 1st, at 7 p.m. in the middle school auditorium. I know in the past, this has been a really fantastic event. I'm just so grateful for PSO for putting it on. It's a lot of work. There's a whole committee of people that plan the event. They get questions from the community. They choose which questions. They have to do all the logistics, all the things. So it's actually quite a lot of work to put it on, and I'm really grateful they do it because it's important information for our community to have, to be able to see all the candidates in one forum and talk with them. On September 29th, each PSO unit will host its own separate No Fuss fundraiser. And if you don't know what a No Fuss fundraiser is, which some people don't, basically the PSOs just ask for a donation. So instead of asking you to buy a candle or a magazine or something like that, they just ask for money, and that 100% of that money goes towards programs in each of the buildings. So that's things for classrooms, for teachers, for the benefit of our students, for events. The vast majority of it goes to the Gifts and Goals program, which is basically, it's sort of like grants. So the teachers or the administration in the building can say like, these are things that would really benefit our students in the building, and PSO puts the money forward to pay for them, and it's tens of thousands of dollars across the buildings that they raise and put that money towards the benefit of our kids. So that's a really great fundraiser. If you see something for No Fuss come through, consider donating to it. And I mentioned last time, now's the time to sign up for PSO for membership at your kids' building. That's the best way to be involved and learn about volunteer opportunities. I know it goes out in the principal's newsletters, but there's other things that PSO coordinates. So that's a great way to be able to be in the buildings and see what's going on during the school day. And I just wanted to highlight something that's happened at one of the individual PSO units. So at the elementary school, they organize room parents for each of the rooms. They got 248 applicants to volunteer to be room parents, and they have to pull it in a random lottery because that's how much our parents want to be in the classroom, want to help, and want to be involved. So, I mean, thank you to everyone that applied. Thank you to PSO for organizing that. And I know there's lots of opportunities to get involved if you weren't selected, but it's just mind-boggling to me that we have so many parents that are so dedicated and really want to be there for our students and our community. And then the next PSO council meeting will be Thursday, October 2nd. And that's it.
Great, thanks. Co-curricular, extracurricular, Tish and Lisa.
So the high school hosted a naturalization ceremony. Mr. Jonah Pichette, who is one of our social studies teachers, teaches American government, hosted the naturalization ceremony for 25 individuals who were taking the next step to become U.S. citizens. I was unfortunately unable to attend. I don't know, Ms. Gallick, did you attend?
I couldn't be there.
Which you did, Eva?
Yeah.
Okay, so I could not. I had meetings, but I heard it was amazing. The other board members were able to speak to the actual experience of it. But one of our students who has immigrated here spoke as well. One of our community members, Susanna, she's Cook. I don't want to say it wrong. She's a judge that conducted the ceremony. It was an incredible co-curricular activity, experiential learning opportunity for our students. I just think it's fantastic that we opened our doors and were able to host that. So I don't know if any of the board members wanted to share about that, but wanted to mention that we.
And a shout out to Dr. Martin. He pinch hit for me that day. I unfortunately had an unavoidable conflict, and at the last minute, I joked with him. I called him out of the bullpen. He stepped up and did a good job. So I know.
He was admirable in his comments. He really was. I thought that the speech was wonderful.
Something else happened.
Yep, I was one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the student, the high school student who spoke did an amazing job.
Yeah, that was the first time I had attended a ceremony like that. It was very well done and very moving. It's a great opportunity for our students too, to be able to experience democracy in action and new people becoming citizens of our country. So that was great.
Awesome.
Good.
Can I just add something? So I wanted to add that if you saw the car outside, the athletic department is having a car raffle. So for $50 a ticket, you get entered into a drawing for the car. It's a 2026 Chevy Trailblazer LT. So I need to get my tickets. They'll be drawn November 19th, and you can buy tickets through Hometown Ticketing, and that money goes towards supporting our athletics across the board. And I'm sorry, I know we're kind of going long, but I was able to attend the first Kappa meeting of the year, and I did just want to share a little bit about Kappa because that the co-curricular groups that are under that are Huddle Junior at the middle school, Huddle, and SAD Club at the high school. So we actually have hundreds of students that are involved with that. And sometimes people don't know what Kappa is. I've had community members just not familiar with it. But I just want to read their mission statement. It says, the mission of Kappa is to work in collaboration with the Brexville-Broadview Heights communities and school district to plan and implement strategies aimed at preventing and reducing youth substance use while encouraging healthy lifestyle choices. So every time Mrs. Kelly Lazar is the one who runs the program. She's retiring this year, but she does an excellent job. And every time I go to a Kappa meeting, I'm so amazed at everything that the opportunities it offers for our kids to be leaders in the building, to be role models and to stand up and say, these are the choices that I'm making. And I hope that other students join me. There's so many incredible things they're doing, community service projects out into the community at our nursing homes and at senior day in Brecksville. And then also our older students go into the classrooms. So we might have like 10th and 11th graders going to like a 7th grade classroom to talk with them about making healthy choices for their life. So it's just such a great program for our younger kids to see older kids modeling this behavior, and then for our older kids to be able to be leaders and to be upstanders. And so I just wanted to share that with the community, because sometimes people hear Kappa and don't know what it is, or aren't even familiar with the program and don't know that we have those opportunities for our students in the building.
Hundreds of kids participate, and Huddle is one that people hear a lot and don't understand what it is, but it's our upperclassmen at the high school going into grades 3, 4, 5, 6, and even into the middle school to teach lessons about different life choices and strategies just for healthy living. So it's a great leadership development opportunity for upperclassmen, but also a great enrichment activity for our younger students. And Kelly Lazar has been doing it for a number of years, and she is retiring. She told us last year that this is it. So I know the Kappa board has been having conversations of how does Kappa evolve or continue? How do we sustain it? Because it is a partnership with both Brecksville and Broadview Heights to help cover some of the costs of the program, as well as the district, obviously.
Very good. Moving on to permanent improvements facilities, myself and Ellen. I don't know, Jeff, maybe you could just spend a couple of minutes and just give us an update on the road into the new
Yeah, this would be
access
great
drive.
because I had it on here after Dr. Martin.
Okay.
And I don't know if people will stick around long enough to hear it, so I'll do it before Dr. Martin.
Yeah, because he is a starter and he's going to give us starter inning.
At least 7 innings.
Yeah, complete game.
So
Maybe.
thank you for bringing it up. And it is the Hilton Driveway project has been an ongoing project we've been talking a lot about. For those of you that really been following it, we talk about the campus master plan. It's technically phase 2 of a 7-phase plan that is nothing more than just trying to be proactive. So we were ready to go to bid last month at the board meeting, but we pulled it off the agenda at the last minute. There are some adjustments that we need to make to the plan to make sure we stay within budget, essentially. And the city has been a great partner. City of Brecksville has been a great partner, and their city engineer has gone over the fine-tooth comb, which I'm sure he does with all projects. But when you're dealing with a public school system and public tax dollars and bond funds that were voted, we want to make sure that we're being good steward of those funds. And we're trying to balance the current project, which is phase 2, the driveway, with the possibility of future development. And there's things that you can do early in the process that will pay dividends later in the process. Or there's ways that you can maybe kick it down the road a little bit and maybe address that in phase 3 or 4 or so on and so forth. So our partners at ABG and Lewis Associates today went over a couple of different options. We have some decisions to make. We're ready to get off the ground. We're at this point, probably November, we will come to the board for the recommendation to go to bid. Construction would then happen in the spring and be completed by the end of July is the tentative timeframe that we have. The delays that we've had here of recent are not going to hurt us for the construction season after the first of the year. Actually, when we go out to bid in January, once we get approvals to do this in November, is the ideal time to seek bids, because that's when a lot of these companies are filling their schedule for spring and summer. So it's better to get in early rather than late, and they just throw a crazy number at us. So we're on pace. It's off the ground, but we took a pause to make sure we do a couple of things correctly. And a lot of it has to center around stormwater management and a lot of things underground that you don't see in a project. But the road hasn't changed. The way that it's going to come onto campus is the same. It's just some of the finer details. So I have more that I'll share in an update probably this week after our meeting today. But there'll be some things that we'll have to decide down the road and have some flexibility with. But November, hopefully you'll see it on the agenda for permission to go to bid. That's all I got right now.
Okay. Are you able to give us any update on the tennis courts
Yes.
also?
I can. Tennis courts, for those who play tennis on our courts, notice that we have tennis courts that are 3 years old, and they do not look like 3-year-old courts at the moment. We have premature cracking across 2 to 2.5 of the courts currently, and we've noticed this probably early on, maybe 18 months in after started using it. So we had various core samples taken in the areas that were premature cracking. And when those results came back, it was advised to us to take core samples in the areas that have not begun to crack yet to see if we had the same consistency of materials, construction materials, and what may lead or what has caused this premature cracking. We believe through all the test results, we've identified a couple of areas where that could be. We continue to work with the local company who installed our courts to seek remedy for this. At this point, we are seeking to have the tennis courts replaced, the whole top layer, which is the asphalt, and some of the drainage repaired. We are in conversation with this local company, and we plan on making the corrections summer of 26, and then we will see where it goes from there. And we'll see how willing the company is to assist in this repair or replacement. And then we'll use the tools available to us to make the district whole. So we are trying to do everything possible not to interrupt the boys and girls tennis seasons. Girls play in the fall, boys play in the spring. So we need to have this work on deck and ready to go for summer of 26, so we don't have any delays with their season. We are having to clean the courts often because there are some low-laying areas that water accumulates and then mold grows, and that becomes very slick. So we are keeping a close eye on that. Coach Reynolds and I have ongoing conversations all the time about the conditions of the court.
So just to be clear, the cracking does not pose any safety issue.
At this point in time, no.
So they're still usable, but we know.
They're usable, or some may say they're playable.
Yes.
But they're quickly getting to a point where it could become a trip hazard, or the asphalt just begins to kind of fall apart.
Sure. And these are new courts, so
Brand new courts.
obviously something
Yep.
went awry significantly.
An investment of about $660,000.
And there were a number of donations that were made also to help fund that too.
Yes.
So. Okay, well, keep updated on that then. All right, we're going to move on to item 4, superintendent's communication. So back to you, Jeff.
Now I'm going to turn it over to my friend out of the bullpen, Dr. David Martin.
All right, so this is the 9th inning, Dr. Martin. Close us out.
Do you need this? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna be on this 7th inning stretch for a while.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna break the mold a little bit tonight, folks. And I did this in honor of our treasurer. We have 4 pages of printout.
Oh,
Each color, one-sided. It's beautiful, so.
killing me.
Note catcher in the middle for those that write.
Thank you.
I don't know how I'm gonna do with you, Mark, but.
Yeah, that's all right. I get it all right.
It's in the computer, so y'all that write, you're gonna be just fine. So this little note catcher here. What we're gonna do, throw down some notes if you want, in the computer that Mark. And then I've got the Martin 7 at the end that,
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see all that color. Looks pretty though.
pretty
Good quality.
All right, so now before we begin, at this time last year, I was outdone by Lisa Galick. I don't know if you remember what you did, but she got to a piece of data before I did.
One of 18 schools.
She, good memory, Mr. Yanavas. She downloaded the report to see who got all 5 stars 1 year ago today, and he beat me to the punch. And the answer is
Pretty short list.
no district out of 607, 0. No district got all 5 stars. So I was almost gonna email you and say, did you do it yet? I did it at 10:05. It was released at 10 and at 10:05. It's the first data point I checked. Okay, so I win? Yes, okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why no district got all 5 stars this year. And we immediately want to go to the newer component here, which we're going to talk a lot about, the college career workforce and military readiness. But even those, I looked at a lot of the high performing, the top 25 districts, and it was a mixed bag. You had some that got 5 stars in that component, many did not, but they did not get it in progress or gap closing. Obviously, high performing, that's our bread and butter right there in achievement, as well as the other high performing districts. But we're going to talk a lot about this at the end, and it's actually the last 2 pages in your packet. So we can put a hold on that. But again, 5 stars for, how many consecutive years in a row, which means we significantly exceeded state standards. So there's a lot to celebrate there. That's our bread and butter, achievement and progress. Now, how is the overall rating calculated? They take all of the 6 components, and there's a weight that then plays into the overall rating. It depends on the building, so buildings get different ratings, but for the district, by law, these have to weigh the same, because that's what schools do. We work on achievement and we work on progress. You'll note there in the beginning, I kind of gave a little definition in italic print, because I want to make sure everyone knows the difference between achievement and progress. With achievement, that is a measure in time. That is a measure on an Ohio State test. Progress is the measurement over time. And we have to be laser focused on both. Both are important. But if we only do one with the exclusion of the other, we're going to have some problems. You're going to see as I kind of present out tonight, this is our bread and butter. We do very, very well in achievement for the most part. We do have some areas that we need to shore up. Progress is something we have to absolutely dial in on. We are doing very well in many areas of progress, but we have to dial in, particularly with our subgroups and ELA. You're going to hear that a lot tonight too. So just kind of keep that in the forefront. Progress versus achievement. They're both important. They're both distinct. So if you are the high school, for example, achievement and progress, achievement is worth 29%, progress is worth 29%, and then we have 14.3, 14.3, 14.3, because a high school doesn't have early literacy. If you're the middle school, these weigh heavily. There's 40% on achievement, 40% on progress, and then 20% on gap closing, because they don't have these others down here. The elementary gets interesting because they have 4 of the 6 components. So it is 33%, 33%, 17%, 17%. So 33, 33, and then 17 on gap closing and 17 on early literacy. Okay, let's go to our bread and butter here, our achievement. And again, on the right side, that used to be reportable. That is just for informational purposes now. Achievement is important. However, the performance index, the most stable, reliable, accurate measure of achievement over time, is the performance index. And you can see we're kind of hovering around that 106 area here. You check out our performance index this year, 106.4. Last year, 106.8. Did I want it to go up? I absolutely wanted to go up, but it's hovering around. In some ways, it's a statistical tie, but we have some interesting gains. So if you look at Advanced Plus, these are students taking off-grade tests, largely in math and science, some in social studies and history. 9.5% of our students were Advanced Plus last year, and it went up to 10.1 this year. The next performance level is advanced. So they're taking the grade level test. Last year, it was at 45.8% of our students scored advanced. And these are all content, all kids. It's a 50,000-foot view, all of it mixed together. 45.8%. This year, 46%. I'm sorry, 45.8 and 46%. So going in the right direction there. Accomplished, so we've got to figure out, because value added, the data that shows progress over time is going to be released mid to late October. Accomplished last year, 28.2%. This year, 27%. But did those kids move into the advanced, or do they move down to the proficient? That's the things we have to uncover with the data. Proficient, 18.2 last year. This year, 17.9. Did they move up? Where are these kids going? Proficient, again, very, very strong. If you look at our district, the preponderance of students are always in that proficient, accomplished, advanced, advanced plus. But we cannot ignore our students at the basic performance level and then the limited. Basic, we stayed stagnant. We have to make sure it's the same kids or maybe different kids. Was there movement in and out of those performance levels? 4% last year, 4% this year. Limited, 1.2% last year and 1.4% this year. So we've got to figure out who those kids are, where they lie, and which direction they're going. All right, so that is performance index. Let's go back to our progress. And again, this is equal to achievement, progress and achievement. What I really, really like this year is the state put in the growth index and the effect size. And this kind of gives your sort of nerdy stats geeks like me an instant understanding and a placement of where we are and where other districts are. Anything over 2 here, anything over 2 is way beyond this, which is significant evidence that the district exceeded student growth expectations by a large magnitude. So that's a 2. We're at 20.5. That is amazing progress and amazing growth. But it's almost exclusively in math, a little bit of science, a little bit of social studies, not in ELA. If you're over 1 on the effect size, same deal. That is significant evidence. But this doesn't tell the whole story until you click here, which is grade and subject value added. And I'm just going to go out of the ledger here. So anything in that charcoal, I don't know if it's bluish charcoal, but these 2 here, again, there's significant evidence that we made the progress expected and moderate evidence. This isn't bad, the green and the yellow. It's just we're trying to accelerate kids, and we're trying to accelerate particular groups of kids, particular cohorts of kids, particular content, ELA example. So you go back, you're only going to have grades 4 through 8. 3rd grade's the baseline, so we're not going to see any growth there. And then high school EOC. So again, like I said, what is essentially carrying the district in progress? What's carrying the district in progress, where kids are really growing, is math, largely science, and a little bit of social studies down here, because you can see this is the highest progress category. So in all grades, if you combine all 4 through 8 and high school, that's where we get that 20.51. Now, last year, I know everyone's eyes go here, and they go here. And last year, it was the exact same rating for 5th grade science. But let me just take it, so you got that visual here. That 5th grade science, that is this category here. Students made less progress than expected with significant evidence. However, I'm going to go here, back to the district, and we're going to go down to the elementary building. And we're going to first check out the achievement. And if you go to 5th grade science, 87% were proficient in science last year. Folks, that's up. 4 years ago, it was 82, 84, 84. Now it's 87. But they're not making progress. It's because those 5th graders in science were predicted to make more progress than that they were showing. So there might be a regression to the mean, meaning kids that were predicted to score advanced might have scored accomplished. They might not have maintained their position in the distribution, NCE. So if they were at the 98th NCE, they scored at the 75th, which was still accomplished, maybe even advanced, but they didn't make the growth. We're seeing this phenomena as well in the, I'm going to go back to the progress. We're seeing this phenomena as well in the 8th grade ELA. Go down here, progress. Here. So 8th grade ELA, not bad, but we look at it and we say, well, that's here that they made, you know, less progress than expected. Same deal. 87.5% this year were proficient in 8th grade ELA. Same story, 82 4 years ago, 84, 84. They're 87.5, almost 88. But they're not the right kids. The cohorts aren't making the progress, and we've got to dig down and figure out what's going on. So again, you got achievement, which tells some of the story. Progress tells the other side of the story. Together, that's when we can improve instruction and we can start to see student learning accelerate where we need to accelerate in some areas. That is progress. Let's go to the kitchen sink. This is my favorite one. Gap closing. And it is the kitchen sink because there are like 6 different distinct categories. You have math and ELA, progress and achievement for subgroups. Who are the subgroups? The subgroups include all of these. So students of color, students on free and reduced lunches, students with IEPs, students who do not speak English as a native language. So this is a good and fair metric. They take each group, they calculate the performance index for each group. They assign a goal, which all districts have a goal. All buildings have a goal. And you can see just kind of looking at it, we're doing pretty good, right? Our subgroups are achieving in ELA and math as compared to the state goal. But again, there's a lot more to this category. As you can see here, we have achievement, we have growth, we have graduation. Did our subgroups graduate on time? Did they graduate? Did they drop out? How about our EL learners? Did they graduate? Did they progress from out of English, the English language learner program with the OALPA? We also have another metric, chronic absenteeism. There are 3 components to gifted. So again, when I say kitchen sink, I'm not joking. There is a lot that goes into this. But at first glance, you can see district-wide, take all of our subgroups, what's going on? This is a problem here. They did not make progress, growth in ELA district-wide. They did in math, so 7 out of 8 total points, but they didn't in ELA. And I'm going to show you the graphic in a second here. So this is just your achievement static, took a test. Did they meet the goal, the bare minimum that the state is asking? Absolutely. They killed it. All of our subgroups did. Now get ready. Here's the growth. Anything over 2, remember I said anything over 2 is significantly exceeded expectations. Look at our math. These are our subgroups of students, our math subgroup students. I mean, this is all students up here, but we are definitely, our subgroups are definitely showing the progress and growth that they need. If you go over to ELA, check this out. Our English learners are leading the pack, followed by our students with disabilities. Because when I say accelerate, I mean accelerate. We cannot expect them to stay below grade level continuously. We have to set this very ambitious goal here of accelerating to get them at grade level. I look at the ton of resources we put into EL. We've talked about that. We sent 12 teachers to the TESOL conference last year. We're sending 21 this year. Scott Kinkoff, Tanya, Joyce are presenting at the TESOL conference. So we are going to continue to get that knowledge, that expertise in the hearts, minds, and souls of all teachers so that we can meet the needs of our EL students. And there's real evidence that they are learning English and accessing the curriculum. as well as our students with disabilities. You know, I know Cassie's sick of meeting with me, but I make her talk to me every single day, and we talk data, which is always fun. But you can see the gap here. You can see what's going on. We need to accelerate. We have got issues with progress, particularly with our subgroups and particularly in math. Now, let me take a little bit of a bird walk. Love bird walk.
Got it.
And go back to the elementary building. And I know our eyes go here, 4.5 stars, 3 in progress. The reason they got 4.5 stars was, yes, this is the growth, but the subgroups at the elementary building did not make the progress in 4th and 5th grade, particularly in math. We haven't made progress in ELA in a while, and we're trying to change that. But I just want to show you kind of what's going on here. So if we go to the progress, and again, this is our elementary. Go back here. Remember, as a district, we were over 20 on the growth index, and we were over 1 on the effect size. This is the elementary building, so only grades 4 and 5. I'm going to click here, and this is what happened. So in the green, not bad. A little bit of yellow here in the science. But we've got to dig down and figure out why we have a negative growth index. That doesn't mean they didn't grow. That's within the range. If we're talking about accelerating and getting up to grade level, we got to get this up to double digits, 10, 12, 15, 20. Okay? The other thing was that played into the gap closing weighted point that then gave them the overall total of 4.5. So we need to pay attention a lot to progress, because guess what? We saw in 5th grade science, they're achieving. 4th grade math, we looked at that growth index and effect size in 4th grade math is super low. Their percent proficient, 91.5, very, very strong. We just got to figure out, are the kids still scoring high, but not maintaining their position in the distribution when compared to their peers in the state? All right. I'm sad to say, I think we're halfway through. Yeah, we're halfway. So
Keep throwing strikes.
no curveballs. Okay. We'll blow through graduation. We're doing a great job of graduation. This is the 4-year and 5-year rate again. And that has ticked up. That's ticked up from last year. So again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. Our subgroups have met that, because that's kind of a yes or no. So graduation, definitely doing great. If you are not doing anything on Friday or Saturday night, click around on this and you can see all the trends and the bar graphs and the line graphs. I don't want you to download a spreadsheet faster than me, Lisa, that's all. So yeah, graduation. Let's go to early literacy. So for 2 years in a row, we have earned 5 stars in early literacy. And as I said last year, this is a big component. They are currently administering the fall diagnostic of Acadians in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd. We expanded to 2nd grade. We only had it in K and 1, but I think that's the right move. We had the right diagnostic, the right assessment for our early learners. But this is big. When this is not counted, when you have less than 10% coming into kindergarten off track, because we have to control what's in the water 5 years earlier, right? So if we have a kindergarten class that is less than 10% off track, this is not counted. Then it's exclusively on promotion to 4th grade, which is weighted at 40%, and 3rd grade proficiency, which is weighted at 60%. So that might change. And if it does change, we'll have to see how the metrics work out. But for 2 years in a row, we have gotten 5 stars in early literacy. So we are dialed in. And I have a little surprise for some of you at the end. We're dialed in on the science of reading, but now we have to go beyond the science of reading to the science of learning, brain-based learning. Remember 20 years ago, you brought that, Ava. All right. Just because of Mark's comment, we're going to get to the last component here. College, career, workforce, military readiness. And this is in your packet. I'm going to explain this in a very simple way. This is the graduating class. These data represent the graduating class of 24. So the graduating class of 25, I think the window is closing soon, and it's probably not looking good. We might get 4 stars again next year in this component because we have to track this, and I'll give you some reasons shortly. So in 2024, the graduating class had 312 students. 242 were considered or demonstrated post-secondary readiness. What's post-secondary readiness? There's 11 categories, and you can see there's a nice little example. Now they pretended like it was a class of 10, but you can see they have to fall into, so these 312, if every single one of these 312 fell into one of these categories with an asterisk, so honors diploma, industry credential, dual enrollment, ACT, SAT, remediation free, we go on and on. If they fall into one of these 11, they get a point. And then that goes into, that's the denominator, that goes into the numerator. Here's the numerator right here. So 70 kids did not fall into one of these categories with the asterisk. Well, why didn't they fall into that category? Last time I checked, Brexville Broadview Heights does a phenomenal job preparing our students for the next steps in life and beyond. We believe this is a student data issue. This is a student tracking issue. This is an adult clerical issue. We got to figure out from freshman year who's on track for the honors diploma and still on track in sophomore, junior, and senior year. Who's on track for industry credentials, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? And we got to track them. So if they get off track, if they're only going to fall into one of these, because our students fall into many of these, honors diploma, remediation free, but for some of our kids, they might only fall into one. And we got to make sure they don't fall out of one of those categories. That's the easy part. We do that well. The hard part is we got to track them over 4 years. And then when another freshman group comes in, we got to track them over 4 years. So this is a data tracking kid topic. And we got to get a lot of adults in the room to make sure that we're going kid by kid by kid. Kid transfers out, had an honors diploma when he or she transferred out, transferred back in. Honors diploma, I don't know. Lived over Europe for a couple of years, came back. Well, did they have a remediation free ACT, SAT? These things we got to track. There's clerical errors. So if we would have made it to 85%, we would have 4 stars. We will. We'll make it there. One thing I did forget, because of Mark's comment, I'm going to go back to, he threw me off.
Sorry.
You're like the catcher, man.
So take a few warm-up pitches. You're good.
One thing I forgot was chronic absenteeism. 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, 3 years ago, it was over 15%, then 11.2%. We are now in single digits with chronic absenteeism. High school dramatically went down. It was 17 high. It's at 11% now. So middle school stayed about the same. Elementary is about 6.5% at chronic absenteeism. Gifted, there's a lot going on in gifted. You'll see we did not meet this identification and services. So we basically get dinged if we do not identify and service kids in K2. If we don't identify and service kids with creative thinking and visual arts. And then the big one is not identifying students that are underrepresented, students on pre-reduced lunches, students that do not speak English as a native language, all of that. So, but we still did very, very well. And all of this combined got us the rating of 5 stars. All right, I'm done. I mean, I could go on.
No. When can we ask questions?
So I could answer your questions and then I can give you the Martin 7, or I can do the Martin 7 first and then answer questions, whatever you want, because I think I need to give some explanation on what we're going to be doing forward. If you're going to give data, you have to provide expert opinion, right?
Yeah.
So what would you like? Would you like the Martin 7 first, or would you like to question first?
Why don't you go ahead and go over that, and then
Okay.
that might answer some questions.
You follow along? Yeah. Put the old glasses out here. So first and foremost, we are doing the right work. We just have to remain absolutely laser focused on improving ELA. We have had ELA on the docket for several years. Jeff came, sparked a conversation about curriculum frameworks. We have got to stay laser focused on ELA, not at the expense of math or science or social studies. We've got to stay focused on ELA, and we will. The next bullet point, number 2, again, every single certificated employee completed a science of reading pathway as mandated by the state last year, even previous to last year, letters, so forth. But that is not enough. It's not enough. We need to now make sure that we have a viable and guaranteed ELA curriculum pre-K-12 that's consistent, coherent, builds knowledge and vocabulary over time with students. So, like I said, we have the science of reading, check the box. We now have beyond the science of reading, and I know at least 2 of you have requested the book. I will now pass this forward. And thank you. I don't know if this is going to be your swan song. But, you're reading.
Sometimes.
So now we have one left, 3 board members.
We can share. Yeah.
Who shall we start?
I'll start.
It's great. All right. Now that we've dispensed with the gift giving. This one's a mouthful. So district-wide value-added math, as well as science and social studies, they carried us. We talked about that. We talked about the importance of achievement versus progress. But we got to dial into our subgroups, and we got to figure out what's going on. Which groups are not making the progress, where, what content, and why. So that's going to be a deep, deep understanding of achievement versus progress. I know we have some administrators here. They have to listen to me a lot. I talk incessantly about this. We've got to get this information to our teachers. And again, EVAS, which is our value-added metric, that's going to be able to show teachers how they did with their classrooms and their individual students. So we can slice and dice that any way we wish. Subgroups, again, we made great progress with EL, and I think that was a concerted plan effort, and we're going to continue to see that, as well as students with IEPs, but we have to accelerate. We need to accelerate in both ELA and math, particularly in ELA, but ELA and math with our subgroups, because we have to make sure they're making the progress. We can't rely on secondary math growth scores to carry the district. Chronic absenteeism, and again, this is a huge shout out to the buildings, to our support staff, to our office staff, our administrators, our teachers, staying diligent about kids. Again, we're in the single digits with chronic absenteeism, and we have to continue that. And I'm confident we can do that. This one's for you, Lisa. Right, so out of 18 districts, No district earned 5 stars, but we shall rise again, right? Hopefully, and I'm a little competitive. For those that you know me, I want to be the first district that gets all 5 stars in all components. It's not about chasing test scores. It's about meeting the learning needs of all students. And then this will show the results of doing that. I am a firm believer in collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. When you have highly structured, action-oriented, data-driven PLCs, when you get highly trained professionals in a room doing the work in that fashion, in that order, we're going to see results. That's the Martin 7. Questions, comments, concerns?
I think there's probably a reason why nobody achieved 5 stars. I have a feeling that there might be a common theme in terms of the data among those districts. And in addition to that, I think subgrouping and the results, the data that have been provided for subgrouping has been a problem since they began OTES. You know, that's always been a real conundrum. And I think that that's possibly some of the most challenging of groups to assist and to nurture and to bump up. So in spite of all of that, to achieve the way that we have achieved is phenomenal. And I credit you and collaboration and the rest of the team. And of course, Jeff's guidance. It's really incredible. So congratulations.
Thank you. Just still want to get better.
Oh, I know.
You know me.
I know you.
That's for the district. I don't.
Yes, of course.
I love this district, so we want to get better. Thanks, Amy.
I just want to say, like, because I know how passionate you are. I love it. Like, you and I can talk about this stuff. But we remain a phenomenal district. I will say that. I will be an ambassador to the very end. And I know how hard everyone is working. I think that I think that a lot of districts struggle with ELA. And I think that what I love is we are not going to stop. We've talked about this year after year after year. We are always going to refine. We are always going to look to improve. And you're already talking about, we're going to drill down. You know, what's a bummer about this data is the state is still refining the data and chewing on the data up until pretty much the day it gets released.
Yeah.
And then districts get it in their lap and they have to chew on it and break it apart and analyze it over and over and then get it to their staff and start talking. And it's always kind of like you're behind the 8 ball with it. But this district has nothing to be ashamed of. The amount of work, the amount of alignment that has to happen from you, from Jeff to you, to the instructional support staff, to the teachers, to our students. We have to all be aligned, and it does happen. We don't get 5 stars without that happening. I think what's amazing is what I see from you is collaboration here at point number 7. And what I see through that is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Opportunity to get better, to do better, to figure it out. And I see opportunity for our community as well. And what I mean by that is when we drill down to this, how do we incorporate having our community help us too? With ELA, literacy is community wide, really. I mean, it is a life skill for everybody. And I think that, our community needs to understand how literacy is developed and impacted as kids are born and grow up and develop. I don't know if that all makes sense, but we've held lots of things for the community, for our community in the past regarding a number of issues. Maybe we need to talk to them about literacy, and how kids acquire it. Those are just my thoughts, but.
Thank you. I think that literacy is really important. We talked last night about the flatline and decline of literacy in the NAEP, the National Assessment of Ed Progress. something's going on. And I want Brecksville Broadview Heights to lead that way, to be the literacy expert. So thanks, Tish. Appreciate it.
I just want to thank you for a great presentation and for all the hard work. I do have one question, and you probably don't have data for this, so you might not be able to answer. I don't know, we'll see. But I mean, we recently switched up our ELA curriculum. Do you suspect that, and again, I don't know that you have any data, but I'm wondering if that could be part of the reason, like some of the ELA scores were what they were.
We've had a history of not having a guaranteed viable curriculum. So we've had different stuff at different buildings for decades. So we're getting very close to being similar to math. We have Ready Classroom Math K5 and we have CPM 612. 2 math curricula. We got to get there with ELA, and we're close. Because we're either going to go CKLA K8 or HMH 612. And then it'll be similar to math. This is long, Tish is right. This is long, hard work of alignment. And I think, yeah, you can implement a curriculum and if your scores jump, like that could be random. It could be a great bunch of kids that year. It could be, that less field items on the test. So it was, kids scored more proficient. But if you see it over time and you see steady growth over time, the trajectory is going the right way, that's what I'm tracking, we'll be okay. It's going to take a while. And our early curriculum now is heavy on phonics, the code, making sure they're automatic and accurate coming out of, K1, 2. And they're starting to see that. They're starting to see kids be more automatic and accurate. We just got to build knowledge and build vocabulary. So good question. I told you I'd have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, congratulations to you, to everybody. It's phenomenal. Like everyone said, I have 2 questions actually. So you mentioned on the career and college component, like it's a lot of a record keeping issue, or like a data tracking issue. Like it says we have 0% of students in the military. Like that's not correct, right?
That is absolutely not correct.
Yeah.
But we don't think it's correct because I believe the class of 2024 did have students that enlisted in the military. In 2025, we had 5 because every branch was represented. So if this comes out, the problem is the data window closes for last year's graduates, and it's very difficult to stay ahead of that because I can dispute a lot of these data points. So hopefully we can get ahead of it.
So it's just a matter of you guys like refining your systems on your end and making sure, like if we have students that are enlisting in the military, they're tracked and they're recorded with the state and things like that. So
you got to make sure it's correct on our end, and then make sure it's correct in EMIS. And if there are discrepancies, we have to reconcile. And again, it gets goofy because there's a big document called Where Kids Count. It's like 120 pages. Kids transfer out, transfer in, do they count? They just emigrated from another country. We have to figure all that out, and we just have to keep good track of it. Now, again, if we get to 85%, that's 5 stars. I'm not saying I want to get this to 100. I want all kids, because I believe we prepare all students for secondary, post-secondary readiness. It's just the data. We really think there's a tracking issue here.
yeah. And so people are like, that's a major part of your time that you're spending on recording data for the state so that this can be, so we can get recorded as 5 stars. So even though we can see the result, we can see our kids are prepared for college or career. Like that's the feedback we're getting from our families. That's what we see happening every day in our school. And like to see this as 4 stars, which still isn't bad. 4 stars is still great. But so
They
people,
exceed state standards
Yeah.
and college exceeding, we're still
but
exceeding.
so people understand, like in some cases, it's just a tracking thing and that's just gonna take like adult man hours basically to record it.
If it was Martin with a computer and a bunch of spreadsheets, I'm fine. This is about getting a bunch of
Yes.
people in the room saying, does that kid count? Like, where's the kid count? You got proof? Okay. Next year, it's that. Which is, it's hard. It's not just running a bunch of reports. It's making sure we're tracking these kids cohort by cohort as they enter freshman year in high school.
Mhm. And my other question is, did they change how they're doing the performance index? Like they have the performance index score and then they're dividing it by, did they do that last year too? Have they always done it that way?
So
It's giving us 90.
this is the percent, yeah. So what
Okay.
they do is the maximum score, 109.8, they take the top 2% of school districts
Okay.
and they set the curve. It used to be
Okay.
120 performance index, and we all tried to get 120,
Uh-huh.
which was impossible.
Right.
Now the top 2%, and you say we're close to that. Last year we were a little closer, so we're just outside of that top 2%, or we would have been in the curve.
Wow.
So that gives us the percent. This is our performance index.
Okay.
Does
So
that make
like,
sense?
yeah, so like the top district in the state maybe got
Mhm.
109.8. Okay. And then
Or
everyone.
higher.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. And then everyone's like.
That's the average of the top 2%.
Okay. All right.
We set the curve, and then everyone else is a percentage of that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not okay, but it makes sense. But thanks, Lisa. Curveballs, anything?
No curveballs, no, but all joking aside, I mean, I really appreciate your effort and the effort of all of our staff. The data, there's a lot of nuance and a lot to unpack, but the broader theme is that we continue to be a very high achieving district, and that's a testament to our staff and our parents and families. So congratulations on that. I do have a question, which is, I know we track a lot of metrics. We have various tools and data that we're tracking. And so when we get these report cards and we start driving down, we see areas of concern or areas like, oh, okay, ELA, whatever. How much of it is a surprise to us? And how much of it is like, yeah, we kind of saw that's an area where we need to put some more focus on.
I love when my data hypotheses are confirmed. That's always a wonderful thing. I think there's no doubt that we put a lot of resources into EL, and we're seeing that pay off. I'm a little frustrated with ELA, but we'll get there. So that's not a surprise. I'm intrigued by what's going on with math. Particularly at the 4-5 level, like why didn't we make the progress? They achieved at a high level. Fourth grade math was 91.5. It's some of the highest percent proficient achievement wise in the district. So we need to dig deeper and figure out. And then usually we try to, you never can make a total assumption. That's just bad science, right? You say, well, the evidence would indicate that this could be the problem, but there's always going to be margin of error, measurement of error. So we don't know for sure. Similar to, okay, we implemented a new textbook. Is that the reason why scores went up or down? It could be in combination. Do we have a bunch of new staff at that grade level that it might have, tweaked the scores a little bit? So a lot of that's, with social sciences, like you're very careful with the interpretations, especially with data. Kids, it's taking one test a year. But the trends is what we want to really pay attention to. So does that answer your question?
Yes, and on that front also, the trends that we're seeing, do you know if we're seeing similar trends in other districts, or is that too deep into the data to know?
You think I'm looking at other districts? Of course I'm looking at other districts, and we did that about 2 hours ago. I will say that one of our friendly neighboring districts that I know has a very large EL population has seen some similar gains in EL. But then if you look at some of the more urban districts, they're not seeing the gains in EL. So that is, I just ran a report too with value added, so that the progress, and it's a mixed bag. You think some of our neighboring districts that are higher performing, that's got a higher performance index, would have a higher value added, but they don't. So we actually jumped several notches when I looked at the sort of the juxtaposition of performance index and progress. So it does confirm some of the suspicions that I have. And I always check out all of our neighboring districts. Cuyahoga County is full of, probably half a dozen of the most high performing school districts in the state. You've got a couple in Western Ohio that are much smaller, and some in Columbus or in Cincinnati, and not really in Columbus. So the concentration of high performing school districts here, and I'm always checking out to see what their data is. And it, again, some of the ones I was surprised they got 5s in the college career readiness, but then they got 3s or 4s in other areas. So trying to figure out what happened. And I don't live in their district, so I don't know what's going on. Like, did they change curriculum? Were there tweaks made? So different crop of kids. It's all so complicated. It's so fun. So
Well, without a doubt, you can see, and it's no surprise to the board or the administrative team, that Dr. Martin just drips with the passion. And there's no surprise why our district achieves at the level which it does when we have a leader in the curriculum department like Dr. Martin and Scott Kinkoff and Jody Tomsick and Beth Adams, who kind of make up the teaching and learning team currently. And then our teaching staff is amazing. They get it done. They show up each and every day. I sit here and I'm listening to these conversations and I'm just thinking, there's 607 districts in the state. All right. And there's 560 who would be laughing at us with the conversation that we're having right now. What I mean by that is they'd be laughing that we're digging down and talking about some of the areas that we didn't quite achieve the level that we're used to. And they would kill to be one of the 47 districts that had 5 stars. So I don't want us to lose that, because that's what makes us a destination district. That's what makes us a high achieving district, well supported by our community, is our passion and our desire to continue to get better. And these state report cards, are only given out for certain schools and certain school districts. Not all schools have the data that we have here, and to prove the great things that are happening, not only with all students, but in our different subgroups. Because some schools of choice don't have to educate some of those subgroups like we do, and resources that it takes to make them continue to grow. So I just don't want to lose sight that there's 560 school districts out there that wish they were in our shoes talking about some of the little blemishes that we would call them and want to continue to get better. But it is an alignment. I'm glad, Tish, that you brought that word up and talked about that, because that's a big word for our administrative team this year, talking about alignment in the district. But we wouldn't have the alignment that we have in our different district if we weren't as vulnerable as we are with one another. There are passionate conversations happening daily within the teaching and learning department and in each of the buildings and PLCs and with the teaching teams. So it's nice that we have an environment where we can be that way with one another and get dirty with the work, because in the end, all that happens is students benefit from that. The college and career readiness and whatever, the new measure that we have, districts will learn how to, I don't mean to diminish this, but they'll learn how to play the game. They'll learn what we need to do to track that data. The discouraging thing in that, and with some of this, is we spend a lot of time doing that work just to prove the great stuff that's happening in our district. And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll get 5 stars. We will get 5 stars in it. It will happen. But in the end, does it mean that our kids are better prepared? I would argue that it does not mean that they're better prepared. They're pretty darn prepared now. We just have to find out how the state is ranking and ordering and sifting and sorting to say that they're post-secondary ready. So a huge congratulations to our students, because this is a measure of their success, to our teaching staff, to our families for being so supportive, and to the team that just helps make everything happen behind the scenes. And Dr. Martin, I appreciate it as always. I haven't worked with a more passionate person in my 26 years. So thank you, Dr. Martin.
Get it over here. We have to talk about the really exciting things next.
Yeah, the check register.
All right, thanks again. Jeff, I assume we're done with superintendents. Okay.
Yep.
Moving
Dr.
on to
Martin,
item
all up.
5, treasurer's communication.
Okay.
I will turn it over to Craig.
Yeah, so this just came out today. This is the key takeaways, which we'll go through in a second. But I did attach a couple of documents that have been shared with us. One is the OEPI property tax analysis that just came out today. It's a detailed document that again go through this as we're talking about property tax reform in the state of Ohio. We'll let that load for a minute. And then also, this is kind of a cheat sheet for people as this loads as to kind of how schools are funded and understanding some of those components. So let me go, we'll go back to those things while they load. So what came out today and what kind of the summary of the OEPI with their property tax analysis, says the following, that we have, again, this came out today. The key takeaways are right here. Raising home values have happened with slow economic growth, and 20 years of state tax policy changes have intensified local school funding challenges. This is the biggest part that I want to highlight, is that homeowners and farmers are carrying 67.5% of school property taxes, up from 46% in 1975. Meanwhile, businesses are now being diminished to be cut in half of what they paid in 1975. Not trying to rag on the businesses, but again, we're having this conversation because our local residential property tax owners are irate and upset at what's happening. And the reason why is because we've had 20 years of legislation that's caused it. And that's what this study comes out and talks about, and it details in a very long thing that you can read later. Cuts and eliminations of state taxes have reduced state support, forcing schools and local governments, but it's not just us, to raise property taxes, leaving Ohio as the 8th highest property tax rate nationally. In contrast, the state's overall tax burden ranks 46th. So again, these are some options that they're recommending as targeted relief for seniors, people with disabilities, and low-income families, revenue growth limits to prevent unsustainable increases, and local flexibility and transparency in tax abatements and exemptions. That's been a big, huge item as well, that for some communities that's been affected dramatically in terms of some of the abatements and exemptions that have been allowed, where school districts don't get to even participate. So again, there's some resources here as well. Again, this is the total, this is the whole report, which is 15 pages to read at your leisure, put in some AI to summarize, but it really gets into the details of what those key takeaways are. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board as well as the community. And then also here, this document came out from OASBO, and it also kind of talks about like who pays for schools, what this looks like, how the state funding formula works. Again, in 1999, the state paid for 47% of public education. And in 2024, it is down to 38%, and it is expected to continue to drop as they do not fund public education at the state level. What happens when the costs are rising is that who's going to pay it? Local taxpayers. And it's not going to be the businesses, because we've already shifted that burden as well. So there's some other things about inside millage here, House Bill 920. Again, it's like a little cheat sheet. It's very well put together. This is the major policy changes that I'm talking about. This is like a timeline of what happened 1976 with House Bill 920. We've ended the business or the TPP, which hurt schools, especially in the manufacturing areas, from 2005 to 2009. We cut state cuts funds to local governments and eliminates the tax reimbursements. That's your homestead and rollback. Continued income tax cuts, which reduces our state revenue, which then decreases public education funding as well as other local services. And then 2024 additional tax cuts to power plants further lowered local funding.
And if you want all of this in a little bit more layman's terms and not have to read and listen, our latest podcast that just came out today, we actually talked about most of this. We talked about the 20 mil floor. We talked about reasons for all of this. So it just was, timing was perfect, I guess. And tomorrow's coffee chat, which will be at the Coffee Club in Broadview Heights, we will be talking this information as well for those that can join us, meaning Craig and I.
Yep. So I thought some great resources to share. And again, to help get the word out, especially as we're having this statewide debate on property taxes. But a lot of this is, yes, included in our podcast. So I will move on to our monthly report, the most exciting part other than the check register, to see how we did through the month of August. So we are currently in 2 months of our fiscal year. We are currently, my auditors are here this week. They greeted me back from vacation on Monday morning. So they've been in here getting the work done, which is nice. But through the month of August, we can see our revenue performance analysis. We have our forecast at the top. Now, again, just to remind everybody, this is our forecast from last May. In October, at our October 13th board meeting, we will be having the new forecast model, which will be coming out, which I am just starting to work on probably over this weekend. And our projected revenue is just a little bit higher than what we would consider to be favorable at the moment. And so we've had some state revenue adjustments, slight decreases so far, but some of that will fluctuate out as we get into the October when they kind of finalize. Now that they can implement the new budget, they don't actually equalize all of our payments until October comes around. And then one of the biggest differences when we compare last year's revenue to this year's revenue in terms of August is that we received a TIF payment, which we just had that presentation a couple months ago, where we talked about we would be continuing to receive a little bit more TIF revenue. So that money has to come in, which is a large portion as to why other revenue for us was at an increase year over year for the month of August that was not necessarily related to timing. On the expenditure side, as of right now, it's still good news. And again, these are always moving targets a little bit, but we have our forecasted expenses of $57.9 million for this year. We are projected now to spend $57.7 as of the end of August. So $205,000 to the benefit. Personnel costs, again, we've got some year-over-year increases. We're just settling in right now to see some of the benefits, I guess, on the payroll side. So we'll see what those final numbers are like now that we had a large number of retirements last year. And the new teacher contracts have started in September with their new salaries, and all the new staff are now on the payroll. Service and supplies are still tracking within trend. We're a little bit higher right now on purchase services, and we're continuing to dig into some of those, but I'm not concerned at the moment. Fiscal year projections, again, this would be our total outlook for the year. We are now projected to deficit spend, which we knew was technically forecasted. It's now $727,000. We would see a decrease in our net cash available. This was originally about 1.3 million. So when you factor those changes right now that we see in revenue and expenses, it's looking a little bit better, but still in the red. It would drop our ending balance down to 18,500,000, which is still a decent amount of ending cash. As we also know, we did those transfers in June, so there is some additional money in other locations if needed for the time being. But again, we are still expected to deficit spend this year regardless. And so this kind of just talks a little bit, the last slide is about our cash flow analysis, breaking it down into some quarters as to how you can see, like at the end of August, because we got our real estate revenue settlement, we're up to, if you look right now, it's like, oh, the district has $31.5 million in cash, which is great, but we're not going to really get very much money at all until January. So we are going to see rapid declines through October and December down to $13.2 million. And then we will come back up in January through March with those real estate. Again, how we're heavily locally funded at 72%, provided people pay their tax bills on time, which we hope they do. And then we will continue to decline from March all the way through June to take us down to about that $18.4 million ending cash balance. Any questions? The 18.5, it's like 112, I think. So we are getting close to like our low point of the 90, but then we will have to make some decisions of some of those other funds we've transferred, as well as what we're doing with campus master plan. But yeah, it's down to about 112, 113 days at 18.5 million. Okay. And then what is left for you is the cash position, so you can see, as well as the annual spending plan, which is attached. And yes, we do have one hearing of the public, so I will turn it back over to Mr. Dosen.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, community communications, hearing of the public, hearing of the and also anybody that's here, if you want to speak, you can just have to fill out a form. So we do have at least one. So I'll read the notice. Hearing of the public, persons wishing to address the Board of Education may do so at this point. No formal action will be taken on subjects that are not included on this agenda until the board has had an opportunity to study them. Comments regarding personnel must be submitted in writing through the Office of the Superintendent. in order for the board to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient manner and to provide sufficient opportunities for members of the public to be heard. Hearing of the public will be limited to a maximum of 60 minutes, during which each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. And I will put a timer on for the 3 minutes. And if you hear the timer go off, you could wrap up your comments. That'd be great.
So Karen, if you can take a stance over there. I think Dr. Martin put the green microphone button on for you.
We know the feeling.
Yep.
Trust me, sitting here.
We all need a little warm up after that 9-inning game.
Thank you.
Do you want me to pass those others? I can pass those down.
You want me to use that?
If you could, that would be great. Thank you.
And if you can just start with your name and address when you get to the mic, that'd be great.
Good evening. My name is Karen Kashari, and my address is 9390 Brecksville Road. But I'm here this evening not as a Brecksville resident. I'm here as the regent of the David Hudson Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution. And my objective is to we have a number of school districts in our territory, and I'm going to every school board to get the word out, because I don't think that people know about what the Daughters of the American Revolution can provide to students and teachers. In your packet, on the right side, are the opportunities that are available for students. You'll see there are, at the national level, there are a multidisciplinary number of scholarships that are available. These scholarships many of them are not just for 1 year, but they can be applied for 4 consecutive years. So they could theoretically cover a student's entire college curriculum. It's an online application process. The portal opens November 1st and closes on January 31st, which I believe is a bit earlier than most application portals. So the students would need to get moving very soon. But the scholarships really are, they are very, very nice. All the information about how to access these scholarships is on these sheets of paper. The next level that we have is at the state level. That's our Ohio Society. We have the Wings of Eagles Scholarship. That's awarded once a year. We do it at our state conference in March. And a chapter supports a Wings of Eagles Scholarship participant. So the request would come through us, and we would send it then to the state to be chosen. The information on the Wings of Eagles Scholarship and our chapter scholarship, which I'm going to talk about, have not quite gotten out yet to all of our school districts. It's coming very shortly. All the rest of this information has already been given to all of the districts in our territory. So it's out there. Please make them aware. Our David Hudson chapter opportunities are many. We do have a maximum $500 scholarship that we award yearly. We do that in February at our student awards. We have 2 contests that we start at the chapter level, our American History Contest and our Junior American Citizens Contest. Our winners go to the state level. State level winners go to district level, which are 6 states. 2 years ago, David Hudson chapter had 7 Junior American Citizen Contest winners at the national level. That was wonderful. Is that 3 minutes? I'm sorry. On the left-hand side of your packet is the classroom grant for teachers. There's a $500 classroom grant available. It's all there. Does anybody have any questions for me? Thank you very much for the opportunity this evening.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Okay, we're going to move on with our agenda. We're on item 7, consent agenda. Item A, resolve to approve certified personnel recommendations. Item B, resolve to approve classified personnel recommendations. Item C, resolve to approve supplemental personnel recommendations. Item D, resolve to approve the check register and bank reconciliation as attached. Item D, resolve to accept donations as presented. Item F, resolve to approve the minutes from the August 20th, 2025 regular board meeting as attached. Item G, resolve to approve superintendent's consent items A through F. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Well, we have a lot here, right? So starting first with the certified staffing agenda. It's that time of year where we're recognizing or approving mentors. Also, I do want to point out, we do have our first retirement notice for the school year. Seems like we just finished the hiring season, and this individual is so excited. He turned in his letter of retirement for the end of the year, I think during the first week of school. And that's Mr. David Belak, physical education teacher at the middle school. So 31 years of service. So we thank him for the many years. He's not done. He still has, 9 months to go here, but we appreciate his service. And rumor has it we might have another one in the hopper coming next month. So again, we're very blessed with long years of service. On the classified side, as normal, we have recommendations for different substitute positions as well as special education assistants. We have one here that we added a little bit late, and I just want to point out so everybody is clear with it. But Randy Borosh is on here, the field trip chaperone. Randy is an employee, technically an employee of CVCC, and she wants to be able to drive one of our vans to take kids to opportunities for career readiness and exploration and wonderful things she does. But she wants to drive one of our vans, so we need to board approve her as a field trip chaperone. So we cover ourselves with our insurance, and so she can transport kids to different sites throughout Brecksville and Broadview Heights. So just so you are aware, you look at that and think, well, I thought Randy already works for us. Technically she does, but technically she's an employee currently of CVCC. So that's why she's on there. And we have 2 retirements as well. As you've heard me say many of times, every time we hire a new bus driver, it seems like we get one to retire. We thank them for their years of service. As you can see here, Karen has 27 years of service in our school district driving a school bus. Both these individuals are dedicated employees of our transportation department and have served our students very, very well. And again, I say it all the time, our bus drivers that are eligible for retirement, they hang on until they know we can cover them, and then they retire. So we wish both of these individuals well in their retirement. The next one is our supplementals. We're continuing to fill them out. We're now starting to move into the winter season with basketball and cheerleading and some other volunteers that have come on here in the fall season. But again, these are just individuals that help make a great experience for our student athletes as well as our students in co-curricular activities.
Any questions on those?
Can you, on the certified recommendations, can you explain what does someone do when they are a mentor?
Oh, I love when I get asked a question, I get to call to the bullpen. Because our assistant superintendent, Mr. Brian Wyckoff, sits here each month and doesn't usually have a ton to add, even though he has a big part in a lot of these agenda items. But Mr. Wyckoff, would you like to explain the mentor program?
So the resident educator mentors of year 1, year 2, those are for staff that is in their first and second year of teaching. So they get a resident educator license, it's valid for 2 years. Then they get to move to their professional license. Theirs is a little more intense as far as their mentoring. We actually have a month-by-month book that we use that their mentee goes through to make sure that we cover everything they need to have to be successful. Then you'll see the other ones that are just a straight mentor. This is when we bring people into district that already have previous experience. So these people assist with the day-to-day things, how you access schedule, how you enter your grades, those kinds of things, which is not quite to the level of teaching pedagogy that our RD mentors do for our staff. So no matter how you look at it, it's almost a wraparound service for our staff, so they're successful. We want to make sure that we give them every opportunity in the district to feel supported and know that we're invested in them, and we're going to continue to help them grow professionally.
Great, thank you.
The check register and the bank reconciliation are available. I will say I told Liz that I will not leave the country again over a month because some of our places that give us statements, by the way, will not let you access those statements out of the country. But I was resourceful and we were still closed probably by like 11 o'clock in the morning. But I did realize that. So I was like blocked from getting some of the statements for the month of August. But she did a great job while I wasn't here. We were both nervous about it. And I told her, I said, I will try really hard to never do that to her again. But everything was good. Donations are here. We do have some sizable donations to some of our soccer team, our football team, basketball team. So we thank all of those organizations and people for the donations they did this past month. And then the minutes are here listed for you for last month. And that's all.
Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski,
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0. Moving on to item 8, superintendent's recommendations. Item A, resolve to adopt new revised board policies, final reading. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right,
Comments?
As we take a look at these recommendations, the first one is just the final reading of board policies that we are just cleaning up. Many housekeeping items, as I mentioned last month. Model United
Well,
Nations.
we're just on
one
A.
at a time. So I'm sorry. These
It's all right.
good old consent agenda. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So yeah, this is our second reading. So a lot of it is some small wording changes. Any comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski,
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0. Item C, resolve to approve the Ohio Model United Nations trip proposal as attached. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so this is a trip that we take yearly. A big thanks to Nate Elliott, teacher Nate Elliott, and Bonnie Monteleone, who are advisors and assist with this trip to Columbus. It's a sizable group of individuals or students that go, so we thank them for making it happen.
Comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski.
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0.
Oops.
Item E, resolve to approve 2025-2026 PSI service agreement as attached. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is an agreement that we have on the books for when we need them. For when we may need a substitute individual to cover one of our schools for health services and or field trips that we take. We're very blessed to have some, our school nurse as well as health aides that will go on many of our field trips with our students. But sometimes their schedules won't allow it. This will allow us to partner with PSI, and if we need a substitute to cover a building and or cover a field trip, we could, employ their services.
I was going to ask a question about the Model UN trip.
Yeah.
And if there was going to be healthcare coverage.
Usually those are decisions that are made, and I have to go back and look and see how they're planning on handling that, because part of the field trip request form, we talk about how medications will be distributed.
Right.
So a lot of times it's trip by trip based
Got it.
and the needs of the students who are on the trip. For example, I always use DC as an example. With so many students going, we always have a health professional there that we've had the opportunity in the past that we have community volunteers or parents who are healthcare professionals who have volunteered to serve in that role. So it is not a requirement, but it is something we try to best practice, have somebody on the trip.
Thank
I
you.
think on the band trip too, because it's like,
Mhm.
usually 150 kids.
165 kids, yeah.
Right. So it's a big trip.
Yeah, but like your overnights with some athletic teams, we don't necessarily have. And in that case, our staff members or chaperones have to be trained in the distribution of medication. So, and many of our coaches obviously are trained in CPR and first aid and all of that, but there's things in place to make sure that our kids are taken care of.
Thank you.
So any comments or questions on the PSI service agreement? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski.
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0. Item G, resolve to approve the CTE waiver resolution as attached. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So this will be the last time that we have a CTE waiver due to state legislation. CTE waiver is we're waiving the requirement to offer career technical education courses at the middle school. Not that we don't have courses that we could argue and say are part of a CTE program, but they're not officially coded as CTE. So moving forward, we will have to have some offerings that meet the requirement of CTE.
Comments or questions?
Who is, like, how is that plan being implemented this year?
Awesome. You mean for next school year?
Right.
Yeah. Dr. Martin, would you like to add to this one?
Sure.
I would tell you that my 2 cents on this is a big part of our career readiness and exploration
Yeah.
program, 6 to 12 that you've heard us talk about. And Randy Borosh, her name comes up because she will help fill some of this gap for us and moving forward in some of the programming that we already do. It's one thing to do some programming, and it's another to be official and code courses as CTE because it does require some licensure things from different instructional staff.
That is the issues. We have to make sure that staff is coded correctly in EMIS so that they can teach these classes. If you remember, I put in for about a $260,000 grant. Last year, we were going to then teach Python to grades 7 and up. We were going to get a number of teachers certified to do that. And that would have taken care of this waiver coming up next year. We didn't get that. That was a substantial grant. Went more to districts that were less affluent. But nonetheless, we are now working with tech creds and I don't have the plan written yet, but if you give me a couple hours, I'll have it done before 10 o'clock. I know this is coming. We'll have it. We've got to compel teachers to want to do this because there are free modules that teachers can take to become CTE certified. But I have to make the reason, like, what's in it for me, right? Why would I want to do this?
So is this an unfunded mandate?
It will definitely add to our expenses. We will try to do it the most economically way we can, as Dr. Martin is an expert at. But that's talking about taking some of our current staff and getting them upskilled is how we would refer to it. And there's a great tech cred program through the state of Ohio that reimburses the district for a lot of that professional development and accreditation, but we still have to have our employees go through the hoops to do it. So career technical education is a very good thing. My son, as I've said before, went to the Career Center in Medina and is a product of career technical education, and it does great things for students. We just have to expand it out. So.
Other comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelick,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski,
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0. Item I, resolve to approve the resolution declaring transportation impractical for the 2025-2026 school year as attached. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Just a monthly thing that we go through here for students who are attending schools of choice. And we have declared it impractical for us to transport them. The families then get a stipend for transporting their children to that school of choice. And I think an interesting fact, and I'll put him on the spot, but I think we talked about the total number dollar-wise that we paid last year for in lieu of. And do you remember that number was?
I mean, I don't remember the exact number. Maybe Mrs. Gaelick does now, but it was about $48,000 is what we paid last year. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I remember you saying 48.
My brain says 48,974.
No.
Or is it 47,900?
48,907 and 26 cents.
Yep, close.
I don't know where 26 cents comes from.
I don't either.
Now those, and
Oh, because they are, it's like 80, it's like point
Oh.
whatever, so it's not a flat number.
Oh, okay.
So and I'll try to sum this up best. What we're talking about here is students that were required to transport. So that means it's within 30 minutes, but it's impractical for us as a district because there may be so few students at that school to send a bus and a bus driver. So we have this option to do this. And remember, you've heard me talk before about transportation. If the school was 30 minutes or more away, then we wouldn't have to transport, nor would we have to pay the stipend in lieu of. So these are the ones within 30 minutes that we don't send a yellow bus to.
Other comments or questions?
That the amount is how much per student? I mean, I know.
It's almost $600. It's like $590 some dollars in some sense, clearly.
And a few years ago, it was like 250.
Right.
So if you remember, we challenged one not too long ago because it is almost $600 per student. And ours, it was 31 minutes. And when they redid it, it was 29 and 30 seconds. So it's still now within 30 minutes.
So
I'm
it's
not going to go on that
almost tripled
soapbox, but it practically doubled. So we paid very close attention to this.
So at the same time, like our state funding is getting reduced, we're spending more to transport private school students.
Other comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski,
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0. Item K, resolve to approve the 2025-2026 Title I handbook as attached. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is our 25-26 Title I handbook. Explanation of our policy and procedures for providing services for our students.
Comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski, Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, passes 5-0. Item M, resolve to approve the 2025-2026 ESC service contract as attached. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is an example of partnership with the ESC, and what ESCs really provide is services to districts when in times we don't need a full position. On here, for example, we have a gifted coordinator for 20 days. We have someone from the ESC, an employee of the ESC that we employ for 20 days to come in and assist with gifted services and training mainly for staff. So the ESC provides a lot of these positions. And on here, you'll see there's 3 coordinators of behavior and wellness, a gifted coordinator, and then 2 intern school psychologists.
Comments or questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Ms. Kwiatkowski,
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, item passes 5-0. Moving on to item 9, closing items. Item A, announcements. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is scheduled for October 13th at 6 p.m. That is a Monday, not a Wednesday, because of the
The new
5-year.
forecast. No, not 5-year
It's
forecast.
3-year forecast.
The new forecast.
Are they just calling it forecast then? Or,
The state, I believe, is calling it a 3-year forecast.
Okay.
Is their official title for it. Because it's current year plus 3 years that are forecasted.
You still gonna do 5 years though?
We will keep it internally for 5 years. So I have to figure out what that'll look like on the presentation because I don't want it to get too confusing. But yes, it's a good question. But we will definitely keep it internally.
I
Yes.
heard it on the podcast today.
Exactly. Oh, did you? Another podcast plug.
okay, so make note of it. It'll be Monday, October 13th. Item B, resolve to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Gaelic,
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer,
Yes.
Mrs. Kwiatkowski.
Yes.
Ms. O'Meara,
Yes.
Mr. Dosen.
Yes, our meeting is adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.